Okay. And live transcript, enable auto transaction. Okay, there we go.
And with regard to that, everybody, you'll see live transcript CC on the menu in Zoom. And if you'd like, you can put on, it's a new feature in the last couple of months for accessibility. So it'll translate us pretty closely in real time, anybody who talks into, and I think there's a way to change the setting to change the language too. I think that might be coming, but
that's exciting.
A simple accessibility thing when you're using Zoom.
Well,
maybe you turn that setting on back in the if you're the account owner, you got to go in the back end and change the settings. Otherwise, then when it's on, it becomes a option in the hover menu.
Excellent. And already starting with great things to teach us, we have our amazing presenter, also member of Central Iowa HED, which is fantastic. Dan, you had said you didn't want a big giant introduction, so I'll let you do that part. Everyone, welcome Dan as our presenter today, and thank you for being a part of this, Dan. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Hey, everybody, I've got a handout for us. So if you get sick of listening and you just want the stuff, there it is. So it's in the chat. So this is one way, Libby, you can engage people by giving them links and documents right in the chat in Zoom. So you can send them off to do different kinds of things. All right, fantastic. So let me get started with some of my prepared stuff. I'm delighted to be here, you guys. This is one of my favorite things to do. I love to be with my people, you guys, and to work with you and stuff. So per usual, I got too much. Gosh, okay. Am I sharing the right thing?
Yes, you are. It is
sharing my slide.
My favorite people, those graphics I just love. So yes, you are sharing the correct thing.
Very good. So first off, the title. In one of our breakouts, we were talking about how we take it upon ourselves to get people to watch the movies we love, like Office Space or Caddyshack or Napoleon Dynamite, you know, because they have to get the references. So I've watched recently with my family Dr. Strangelove, and it holds up really, really well. And there are elements to it that are just absolutely hysterical. And it was inspired by that because of my personal transition here over the last 18 months of being a primarily 50-plus-year-old instructor in front of a group to being this kind of instructor. And I just made this decision that I'm going to pivot and I'm going to use this time to learn and to apply and to lean into this. And I have found it's been extraordinarily rewarding from a learning journey standpoint. So I learned how to love it. And hey, so I thought, well, this is pretty cool. And then the Tech SIG said, Dan, you want to present? And I'm like, I love to present because then I have complete control. I can talk about anything I like. And you asked me to, so here you go. You're going to get it. These are this, according to Dan, sort of stuff. So here we are. Dr. Strangelove is an extraordinarily funny movie with Peter Sellers, and it's probably, well, it's well known as one of the best movies, I guess I would say the classic comedies that hold up anyway, and you got to love things. So what's our agenda? Well, our agenda is pretty straightforward. I'm going to talk a little bit about meeting platforms. Some of you had some questions about that. But those of you that know me and my background, I'm a design and delivery person. So this is where I will probably spend most of my time, as well as in then tools, and in particular, tools and techniques that solve problems that I will encounter. You know, you already mentioned one, Libby, in our opener. How do I get people to interact? How do I get people to interact? And a few others were asking about how do I get my learners to interact and engage meaningfully in our content and under the whatever platform we're using. So those are different tools that we're going to use to solve these kinds of problems. I'm also going to ask you to respond to a bunch of different kinds of questions so we can create a little bit of a crowdsource information on all of this and what we can do. So My recommendation, get yourself a pad of paper and a pen, open up that PDF, look at that. Let's get some dual coding and some multitasking going. Here we are. My goals are to share. My goals are to tell some stories and network a little bit with all of you. And of course, answer questions from my point of view. So here we go. I have to start with this. All of these issues that we have come from a place of instructional design. And rather than focusing on, ooh, this is a clever tool, I want you to think about how it matters through the lens of a training designer and facilitator, okay? Many of us are wearing 3 or 4 hats, right? We're planning it, we're writing it, we're delivering it, we are following up on it. Some of us can control that whole stream of work. Some of us have a lot of other people who have their fingers in there that may or may not know what they're talking about. And so let's just start at the beginning. First, evidence suggests that platforms and tools can't make up for poor design. So I want to start with that. So we got a clever tool, you got a great poll, you've got a super case study activity or something like that, but it won't make up for poor design if it's the wrong content or they're not practicing in an authentic way and so forth. So what is good design? First, you got to know people's prior knowledge and design for people's lower 25% of your learning group. That's fundamental principle. So if I got 100 people in my learner population, I need to determine what's prior knowledge in that group as best as I can, and make a set of assumptions to help those people in that bottom quarter. Okay, for many of us, that's a real challenging notion, but I think that's, again, essential for good design. Next, strive for that relative content, and you have to prioritize ruthlessly. So you got to put stuff in and keep stuff out, right? So the essential smarts, all right, what's the stuff people have to know in order to do their job, and what do people have to do with it? So you got to really ruthlessly prioritize in order to be a good designer. Enough authentic practice then with that content. So meaning they have to practice remembering that essential stuff, and they have to practice doing. And sometimes you can't do it when you're in a live online setting. So they have to practice on their own, or you've got to have visibility to their practice. Maybe they won't. Okay, we have to manage that risk and have good design. So it's 2/3 of our time should be in engagement. So that's another key principle in design. You need to provide feedback. So if you think that practice and feedback loop, okay, I tried it once, okay, I tried it. Next time I do it, it's better. Next time I do it, it's better. Next time I do it, it's better. So again, those are essential principles. And then you need to support them back on the job. Do you use feedback nudges? Do you do coaching? Do you give them access to tools? Do you follow up with their bosses? Do you do all of these different transfer techniques that we've learned about over the years? So indeed, instructional design still matters. So with that in mind, let's continuously improve. So I'm going to give you all my headlines, and then I'll talk a little bit more about all this stuff. So in this transition, trying to use these tools and trying to use this format, trying to blend it and solve problems so that we can have engaging and meaningful learning experiences. First things first, even I can learn how to do this live online training thing. Hey, I'm not in anybody's generation. I guess I'm a boomer. Okay, I'm that one that won't do it, or chooses not to, or is a clunker or a laggard. But when I decided to do it, I can take that initiative. A lot of it was initiated by me, right? I watched some videos, got rid of other ones, did some YouTubes, got rid of other ones, followed some different people on Twitter, practiced, and then ultimately what I had to have was an experimental mindset. I'm going to try some of this stuff because I think it'll work and I think it will help. So even I can do it. So that's my first point. Learners appreciate the good design, but they may not know why. They're not going to ask you for it. but they will appreciate it. Oh, that was good. Well, why was it good? Well, he engaged us, they might say. Well, that isn't what I did. I gave you authentic practice, and I was very intentional about what you practiced. And I put a timer on here because you got to answer these questions quick. You can't be thinking. So let's do an activity. We are essential. And I'm not just saying that because I are one. Some learners still lag on this transition. They're going to come in, they're not going to think about it at all. They're going to have the camera that doesn't work. They can't find the unmute button, and on and on and on. That's still going to happen even after all this time. So you just have to have an attitude of grace. Keep things simpler than you might think. Stuff takes longer online. Cognitive load is higher online. And what I mean by that is just think of what's happened even in this session, trying to get on here. Wait a minute, I'm used to Teams. Where's that button? Your brain is on that. And so when you're doing these things online, that's why simpler and it takes longer, is because it's just trickier. People's attention goes to things. Learners will do their homework. Let me say that again. Learners will do their homework. So if you give them homework that is relevant and intentional and interesting, they'll do it. Okay. Sometimes, and I'm experimenting with this, homework can be how to get the most out of this program. So in other words, teach them about learning, teach them about understanding their own learning, teach them about learning tactics like, should you read or should you scan and then read? Should I read with a question in mind? Should I watch this video and do something with that information? Give them relevance as they go along. So those are other things. Just having engagement is not enough learning, so be intentional. Always have a learning purpose. Work for learner-centered connections for the content and practice, not just learn. That's what we're getting at. Have the learners work with one another to solve problems, because they're the ones that have to go back to the job together and do this stuff. I've also learned that integrating retrieval practice, that is quiz games, reviews, having people do brain dumps, having somebody come in and process what they've got just done and share, articulate what they've learned. This is all very helpful in recall and very helpful in your point of view. Learn from experts in live online delivery. Hey, I'm a practitioner and I'm copying everybody I've ever seen. So maybe I came up with some creative ideas that you might think, but every one of these points that I'm telling you right now, shoot, I'm copying from somebody else who's way smarter, way more evidence informed than I am. And I'm trying to just kind of be good at my job. Next, keep this principle in mind. I learned this straight away early on in the pandemic when I started to make this transition. If you can talk about it, you can ask about it. Okay. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you about this stuff that I'm just sharing. And experimenting and learning mindset is key. Just have a go at some of these things. Don't try them all. Goodness, that's overwhelming. You can't do it. But pick one or two, and then you have your go-to, right? So open up chat, and I'm going to ask you about it. Hey, which of these points kind of struck you as, oh, yeah, that's a good point, Dan. I'm going to try to remember it. Stuff takes longer online. Sure does, Ann. Yep. Cognitive load. Thank you, Danielle. I'm nerding out on retrieval practice right now. I'm following a bunch of research to practice teachers right now in my social media feeds. And, it's summertime, so they're doing a lot of professional development these days, and I love it. I'm getting a lot of really good stuff. They will, Rita, they'll do that homework. But again, maybe it's because we're asking them to do homework that sucks. That's why they won't do it. So there's that, right? So cool, I can ask you about it. So think about this. Every time you're talking about stuff, you can ask people about it to engage them just a little bit in stuff like this. So you can ask them about it. Okay, fantastic. Let's move on. So my first agenda point is this idea of meeting platforms. And really when I got a handle on how these things are set up, I learned to stop worrying. So let me just kind of tell you about a few things. And I want to get your sense of it too. So the first thing we're going to do is meeting platforms have polls in them. And so let's use not lame poll to demonstrate how we can get some idea of from the group, you know, what your platform experience is. So if you would please grab your cell phone. This is how we poll in this particular tool. Turn on your camera or your QR reader if you got one and point it at this QR code and join me. And when you get at the poll, hit the thumbs up to tell us that you've arrived. And you will simultaneously see us on the screen. Oops, sorry, I covered up the QR. There's the QR. Grab that. Let's see here. How are we doing? We got 14 of us. How many people are in the call today?
28.
Okay, so we get close to 28. I'll put the first poll question on. So grab your phone. Yeah, take it to the website. While we're waiting for the last few, this is how I like to do polling. Get people to the poll using the QR and respond to poll questions on their phone rather than in a browser window. Because guess what? As soon as you open another browser window, you lose the Zoom window. And most of our learners are using one screen. So this is why I prefer to use the phone version to respond to polls as opposed to clicking on something. Okay, so you can watch the results here with Mentimeter. This platform is Mentimeter. This is my preferred go-to. This is our first poll question. I like to start with a simple one so people can learn the interface. So answer the first poll. So this is a pretty standard question, right? You format a little bit of yes and no, maybe a word cloud. That used to be the fun way to do it. So I'm going to demonstrate for you a few other options to get at our platform experience. Okay. Oh yeah, Josh, the Mentimeter has a free to use gallery. So these pictures come right out of the Mentimeter gallery. I just picked some. Okay. Okay, so next question then, the real question. And this is a unique poll question inside of the type of poll question. So rank your favorite online meeting platforms for live training. If you don't know any of them, in this question, you don't even have to rank them all. Just rank as many as you want and then rank up anything else. And then plus and hit submit. Looks like Zoom's first, the early leader. Should we stop the count? Yeah, this is an involved process. This one has, how many items I got on there? 8. So it just takes a while for people to rank them.
Dan,
And
go ahead, Adam.
Adam.
Oh, I was gonna say, as they're waiting for these results here, how secure is this site? You know, like I know we've run into problems before with like Kahoot, having some having security issues. I would guess if you're gonna use it, you probably want to err on the side of nothing that you want to risk being out on the world. But I'm just
right,
curious.
right. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Dan, how
I
often do you use something like this within your training?
I will use this just about every time, just about. I'll use some version of polling. But this one is cool, this type of question, because now we've got some data that we can now jump off of, right? So you can adapt this. What I love about tools like Mentimeter, these are content agnostic. They are not tied. You can put any question in here whatsoever. So you can use this as a debrief. I've used this to, for example, I had a very, very large in-person seminar, and I didn't know how I was going to debrief it, because there's just too many people to go table to table to report out. So I did some of this first, and then I got volunteers who had interesting answers. Okay, and I just kind of put this in as an interim step. Looks like Zoom is number one with join.me as last. And join.me is probably the simplest bare bones meeting platform that there is out there. It's essentially a conference call and a share screen. That's about all it is. Okay. Awesome. Next question in the poll that's not at all lame is, where would you place these four on our continuum?
And Dan, while people are answering, we do have a question.
I see it.
Okay.
I'll answer it.
Thank you.
So as you can see, now that you voted, in the lower right-hand corner, what I want is visibility, right? So visibility to what my learners are doing. So here we are. I can see you because of your faces and videos are on. So I want to see you. That's one kind of visibility. I got visibility to your chats. And now while you're doing this, I got visibility to how many have answered so far. You can see the tally at the bottom right-hand corner. Right, and you've got visibility into the others as well, because the dots are moving around and the results are updating in real time. So I just find this, very useful. But then this particular question is just a 2x2 matrix, and we can put it on a couple of continuum, and you're just polling, and it doesn't suck. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, we put Zoom in the upper right, and what do we got? Adobe Connect is very unfamiliar and a little janky. Yeah. I'll let you define janky. It's just a term that my son uses all the time. So I thought apparently it means something to young people. Okay.
Dan, are you able to see the individual responses on your side?
No, thank you for pointing that out. Responses are anonymous. So that goes to the security thing. They're anonymized. So I don't know who said what. I just see what they're saying. So for example, this is how I report test scores. So you did a quiz and you got 16 correct. Okay, what'd you get, you guys? And they just put their number up, and then we can see what their score was, and nobody knows who got 16 or who. Like I did a quiz recently, and they were working for a while and they got 0 correct. And I'm like, we got work to do in the pretest. But they got 0, and I didn't know who it was. I just said, all right, set a goal. Next time we do the quiz, we need more. Nobody put 0. Okay, but you can begin to see, yes, this is in, these templates are inside of Mentimeter, but in the paid version of Mentimeter. The cost of Mentimeter is about $100 a year for an individual subscription. I think it has some, what do you call them? Corporate licenses. Yeah. So there, I like to put a bumper in, so I know that I've got as far as I'm going to get with this. So thank you. And you stopped responding. So a few other polling things that I want to kind of tell you about. With regard to live online platform considerations, I think it's useful to maybe get over yourself a little bit, because you love it. It doesn't mean that the learners will use it. Again, cognitive load, and it takes longer and so forth. So get them familiar with the platform and quit switching it around. you know, so like, oh, this time it's on Teams, this time it's on Zoom. Okay, we have to use WebEx. And yeah, use the one that people are familiar with so you don't have that, you know, that learning curve on just having to have the meeting. Then get a set of settings. I think Aaron Gibson, you pointed it out already that, you know, gosh, sometimes people are tweaking the settings and they don't tell you. And then it's like, I'm used to having it on here. It's not on. Who turned that setting off? So have your own settings. And then these are the essential features that I think you got to have some kind of breakout room. You got to have ability to rename participants. And I think on the platform renaming, for example, all of us right now, I've got it turned on. Just go to your video screen, your video of yourself or your spot, your rectangle, right click, a menu will pop up and you can rename yourself here in the window. So I do that for teaming. So I'll code somebody my A, B's, and C's, or my 1, 2s, and 3s, so that when I put breakout rooms together, it just is really easy. Because then I go, okay, I want all my 1s together, or I don't want any 2s and 3s in my breakout room. I want 1s and 4s. Okay, and so I can make that arrangement like that. So renaming is, I've found that to be extraordinarily helpful. You've got to have for accessibility and for inclusion. There is some research to suggest that people learn more when there is live captioning. Heck, I even watch my Netflix now with the captions on. Annotation tools, okay, you can put a heart on something, you can ask a question, you can poll people. You know, maybe you don't want to use a poll, Adam, because of security concerns. Well, then put a poll question on your slide and then have everybody vote with a heart. They love this one, they hate the other one, by clicking on the annotation. But guess what, Adam? You got to practice it because people are unfamiliar with it. So do a simple one to start. You know, maybe that's your icebreaker. Okay, you guys, let's find the annotation. We're going to take 2 or 3 minutes because I got a bunch of annotation stuff I'm going to do today. So let's practice one. Who's your favorite Iowa State football player? And everybody votes. Okay. Annotation tools I mentioned, chat and URL sharing in document sharing is, again, stay in your platform. Go into another browser window sometimes is just, again, it's just people get lost. They don't go to the right thing. They're not quite listening. Like you are just now, you're not quite listening because an email popped up. It's distractions. So just put it right in the chat and then direct people directly to it. And then of course, you got to have some sort of sharing, but that's table stakes. But these are the things that matter to me. Libby's asking tips on how to instruct folks on the tools. Yeah, take a look at my handout. Send them to the platform's help. Why recreate it? Why have a session on how to use Zoom? I mean, goodness, just go to the help. It's wonderful. Please use the help. Go spend 10 minutes out there. You'll figure out how it works. So that's usually my go-to because that's how I learned. And then again, all learning is driven by motivation. And you can, if you communicate, hey, we're going to be using this platform and I'm going to be using these features, these 4 features. So you guys, here's where you learn how to use it if you don't know how to use it, because you got to be ready. Yep, put them in there. Good job, Aaron. Here's a picture of my setup. This is what I'm doing today. Setup matters in my platform. So my platform includes not only my desk. So this is my setup. Again, I nerd out on this, so please forgive me. However, I wanted to show you how in PowerPoint, I can show you specific things with zooming in. So here I did in my PowerPoint zoom in, and I'm using the zoom tool in my PowerPoint display. So now look at that. Well, what have I got? Well, over here is my presenter view of my slide, but over here are my actual slides. And I just have a system for myself that I'm used to. Here are all y'all. This is the Zoom is to the right here just a little bit. So I've got a view of the chat and so forth. And I like having presenter view here because that's where my camera is. My camera is up here. And this is my, I'm very, it took me half a morning to find the right kind of desk lamp that I wanted, but here it is right here. But my camera is up. Please, for the love of Peter Sellers, put your camera up. Okay, I made my point. Gee whiz. Okay, what else do you see? A headset, right? I'm on a headset today. That's so key. I have notes to myself. I got pens handy. Look at that, a camera. Or not a camera, but a clock, excuse me, clock. Have it. My phone is on silent. I don't know if you can see that, but my desk phone is quieted. I have a couple of other tools, you know, some analog tools in my handouts and so forth. I got a full-size keyboard and a mouse with a scroll bar on it, or a scroll wheel, excuse me, etc. So I put my keyboard in this because the keystrokes are time savers. So learn some of those, you know, the keystroke combinations so you can move things around. Okay, so yeah. So how did I do this, Rita? I am in my presenter view of PowerPoint. I have that in front of me. I have resized it so it's smaller. So I'm using my real estate. So you'll see that here. This is how I've resized. This is my presenter view of my slides. And this tool is the second one from the left. It's that magnifying glass. I think once you play with it just a little bit, you'll go, oh, this makes complete sense. This is so easy. So these are game changers for me on the platform. Three screens, good desk lamp. Lighting is key. Get the light from behind you. No, put the light in front of you. Come on, people. Wireless headset. So I have to be wireless because I'll choke myself. You saw me get up a couple times to get coffee because I'll go, oh, I need coffee, and I'll go get it, and then no way, I got to be wireless. USB camera, not the camera from my laptop or anything like that. I just went and bought a $30 camera. Got to have enough Wi-Fi. That's another consideration. We've all learned that lesson. And then, of course, some good background. So you've already noticed some of the things that I put behind me. I curate this. So I've got stuff behind me that's meaningful. I'll do shameless plugs. I'm a vendor, so I'll put my customers' stuff if I can get it. Like there's a Vermeer baler. There's a John Deere tractor. Gee, what else have I got over here? I've got my Selamy coffee cup. Pioneer seed back here, you guys. I don't know if you saw that, but I got Pioneer seed, and I got a bunch of other things. And especially my clients that I can't buy stock, I can't buy their stock, so I go to their gift shop and buy something, you know, a toy or something like that. So curate your background. Maybe have a you know, simple thing that you can do is curate your what's it called? Your background photo, you know, pick a good one. Couple of thoughts on design and delivery. As I've said, I'm a bit of a tinkerer. So yes, I can share the handout again. Here it comes. All this stuff is in the handout. Let's do another poll. So grab the QR. And let's talk a little bit about design and delivery. Good point, Jennifer. Use a green screen. Yeah. So here's a not lame poll question. At least a format of one, right? Watch those bubbles move. While you guys are voting, pay attention to lots of other things and watch, be ready for inspiration. The inspiration for me to start using these online polling tools and online tools in even my classroom training was a party game called You Don't Know Jack. Maybe you're familiar with it, but it's a party game you play on your computer, and you put questions on the computer, you put them on, but you answer the questions using your phones. So everybody's in a party, everybody's having drinks and having a good time, and you put it up on your TV screen, and you're doing this silly trivia game, and it's keeping score, and there's music, and I don't know if you've done it, but it's just a lot of fun. And I'm like, I can see now how, I could maybe try this in a live seminar. So that's really what we were, where it came from. Oh, look what happens. I just clicked my presenter view while I was talking to you, and look what it did. It brought the slide up. So Alt Tab, bring it back. Okay, there it is. That's a keystroke. Alt Tab, I'm doing that all day long. So let's interpret our results. We're in that 2 to 5 hours per hour, sometimes more than 10. Oof. Sometimes all you get is less than an hour. Whoever said that one, right? They say, okay, it's now, go. So these are interesting, right? It's interesting to see how much time it takes. Now I'm going to show you a few things in my design and delivery that I probably spend too much time on, but nonetheless, here are some examples of that. First off, I spent too much time planning this presentation. Here's one. How confident are you in developing quality online training? Your design and delivery skills. I love this type of poll question because I can do it at the beginning, and I can do the same poll question at the end and compare the two charts and see how much this group has moved from not competent and confident to competent and confident. Let me tell you a couple of reasons why I like this particular type of questioning in Mentimeter. First is you see everybody's answers. They're averaged. My wife is a quantitative researcher. She hates average. Please don't average the responses. Stop averaging your responses in any survey. Stop doing it. Because what you want the distribution. Look at that. I just hovered over it, and now you can see, oh, 11 of you rated it 4. 2 of you rated it 5. You get me? And then you see the distribution. Where's the center of gravity? Because none of you, by the way, answered 3.7. Nobody selected that. So why do I have it in my data report? If people didn't, sorry, I'm getting off on this, I'm on a rant, but if people don't select it and didn't say that to you, then don't put it in your report. You with me? This is the average, right? This is the count. And now you kind of see the distribution. So this is very useful for me, very useful and very authentic and appropriate. All right. When you use live online training, when you're doing it, when you are delivering training, which of these things do you use? And you can check as many of these as you like before you submit. So this is another type of poll question where you can select as many options as you like. So it seems here that answer questions in chat and shared screens are pretty standard stuff. You want a little bit more interesting stuff, get some reactions, get a breakout room activity, plan those. Looks like those are well attended. Looks like we're, it ranges here from 17% to 6%. I guess the actual count. I'm not a big fan of percentages in reports. I want to know how many of you. So 16 of the 19 or something like that. That's more useful to me. But nonetheless, these are data, and I'm a data nerd. I love getting this kind of sense. And also, what I like about this is too, in real time, you can then see, oh, this is what I picked, and then where am I? Am I like other people, or am I different from other people? And that's engaging. People are thinking. So again, I'm asking you about it. So not blame polling. That's what I really care about. Not blame. Co-authoring is a game changer. What do you mean, Dan? Hey, anybody in the session here, have you done co-authoring? Put it in the chat. Have you used co-authoring of a document as a training strategy? Yes or no? Just kind of put that in. First off, maybe you don't know what it is, so put that in the chat too. Okay, Adam Rich says we're using a number of shared OneNotes. Okay, not sure what it is, Danielle. Fair enough. Here's what it is. Let's practice. Okay, by the way, keep your designer hat on now, okay? Watch what I do. Okay, I have prepared a PowerPoint template. First off, everybody's familiar with PowerPoint, and we're gonna use editing tools, which we all have used one way or the other. Okay, well, I'm sharing this with you now, right? Yeah, okay. But you can't edit this yet. Keep an eye on your chat and then watch what my mouse. I'm gonna go up here to share. It will create a shareable link. I will make one. I have it set so anyone can edit. I'll copy that. I'll close this window. And I'm going to put that link into chat, and I would like all of you to join me at this document. It's best too if your computer automatically on these links, sometimes it opens the evil, stinking Internet Explorer. So just keep an eye on that so that you don't open that by mistake, because God, that's just awful. All right, so do what I asked you. Choose the text box and answer the questions and watch what happens. Notice you can see all 18 people in the upper right hand. I'm sharing this at the same time as if you're watching it in shared screen. So I've got visibility to all y'all working now. And again, that's big for me when I'm facilitating. I want to see how they're doing. So go ahead and put some answers in. Grab the text tool out of the text box options and put some answers on. Jennifer, you don't know where you are? Well, just make sure you put the text box that you choose somewhere like off to the side or elsewhere. And then once you've finished writing the text, then simply move it around. Yeah, it's a little tricky. It's tricky to see which box is yours. You're right, Melissa. If you were doing this with your own employees inside your Microsoft Office 365 world, you'll see everybody's name. Their names or their initials will show up in the upper right-hand corner. Everybody's a guest contributor in this one. And you're only 2 colors. If you do this using a Google Doc, you will see different colors of people, and that's sometimes helpful. So there you go. You guys get this. Come on back to the Zoom share, if you would, please. So just get this, just keep this open though, because we're going to do another one. I'm going to show you another one. So a couple of ways you can do this, or I've done it. I've just shared this document that I've made, and then everybody has a way to then report back. So for example, in my slide number 2 here, just look at my second slide or look at what I'm sharing. This is a template that I made that goes with a case study. So I like do this case study and then report back to me. So this is, you know, people just can then co-edit it. They go into the breakout room and they just work on the file maybe and share it or something like that. So this is very helpful. So Libby, hopefully this is something that you might be able to do, is to structure this breakout so they're doing something unique and meaningful in the breakout room. Okay. Cool. Great. So please let's join me back here in co-authoring is a game changer. I have another one just to show you what's possible. This is a spreadsheet that I made for a kind of a hybrid. I had both going on. I had virtual and in person. Okay. So here's my simulation report. And okay, it's a bad size, so I can zoom this and scroll around. I am in the alpha tab and I had other teams, but everybody has this report that they have to create. And they finished a round of our simulation game and they put their numbers in. And this thing then makes a whole bunch of charts and graphs that we can then compare. Oh, let's look at growth. And here are the charts, and I can zoom in, or everybody can zoom in because everybody's got access to this document. But they put their team's results in, and I built it to create the summary information. Okay. And I've done it also with a budgeting exercise where we put up the budget forms together, teaching you guys how to budget. Well, let's practice doing a budget. Here's some information, put it into the form, go into breakout rooms. I'll pop in and answer questions. Charts and graphs, yeah. So this will work in a co-authored way, so I can share it just like I did with you, and it'll be co-authored, or it can just be a standalone document. You can do that as well. When I saw that I could do this, it became a game changer for me as a instructional designer. So some co-authoring tips. Files shared on a OneDrive, person, they can see it at the same time, and you can see their cursors moving, and I can see how far they are and if they are having difficulty, because people won't ask questions until it's almost too late, right? So you can see them working. It's awesome. Share the file. Okay, and then they can go into breakout rooms and do it, and boom, man, this was a game changer for me. Other things for design and delivery, a couple of resources. First is Tyagi and Matt Richter's new book, Live Online Learning Activities. Notice they don't call it virtual training. Again, that's a thing that grinds my gears. Please don't call it virtual training. Virtual means it isn't. That's what the word means. It's close, but it isn't. It's virtually there. It's virtually spotless. No, and then it means it's not spotless. So please don't use the word virtual. It's live online, live in person, live online training, live online learning, okay? Words matter. And then this other one, this other organization called the International Association of Facilitators. And I think there's a lot of overlap on the Venn diagram between us as trainers and instructors and facilitators of learning and the facilitator world, who are kind of content agnostic. They're the ones that bring groups of people from A to B and manage the interactions to get to that learning. And they are professional facilitators. Some of these tools are referenced a lot in their world, and they're very useful for us to kind of spice it up. So I put the link into the handout of both of these, so please check it out. The live online learning activities is available as an ebook, as a PDF. Also, you can actually buy a printed copy of the darn thing too. It's 600 pages of Tiagi's greatest hits, and I will use it all the time for inspiration. So those are my design and delivery tips and tools. Okay, in the time we have left, I'm going to share some tips and tools and resources. Let's get moving. All right, first is the poll question. Grab that QR. Grab the QR code, please, and join us at the poll. I'm going to refresh this. Here we are, and then go ahead and answer the question. I'll keep the QR there in case you still need it. Okay. When I find tools I like, I want it to solve a specific problem. Okay, so one problem is, how much time should we do things? How much time do we have? How do I keep track of time? Well, one is I have a clock right in front of me. That's what I do. I use my phone, old-fashioned clock on the wall. You know what I used to do back in the day was I used to get a Post-it note and put it in the conference room to say, okay, I'm going to put the Post-it note on the clock. You have to finish by then. There's your time goal. So sometimes you need your learners need countdown timers. If you set up your breakout rooms in Zoom with a timer on them, but still allow you to close them whenever you want, those are two settings that are separate, then when they're in the breakout room, they will see the thing counting down and they can manage their time. Yeah, I use a tool, you'll see it in the, oops, I clicked that by mistake. Alt tab back. Called Snap Timer, and it is its own window. It looks like that, and it counts down. And I've set it so it stays on top no matter what. So I'll just drag it in and drag it out as needed. And it's, unfortunately, that's as big as the text can be. So it's called Snap Timer. I put it in the handout. Fantastic. Next poll question. Come on back to your phones. Which whiteboard application do you prefer? Go ahead and type that in. Do you use, I don't know, Miro, none, Zoom, the one that comes with it? By the way, this poll question is called Flow. So you just see all of the answers just kind of scroll past. So I don't have to like scroll to them and find them. It's all automatically scrolling. Fantastic. So Jamboard is a whiteboard. Yeah, so Jamboard is a Google tool. It's inside of the tool set of all of the Google tools like Docs and Sheets and Presenter and so forth. So if you've got a Google account, you can use Jamboard. Okay, and it's a whiteboard. What I like about the tool, it's very familiar. It's very simple for somebody to use, but it might take a little bit of practice. So use it more than once so your learners get used to using it. But you can set it up ahead of time, so you can put a template on it and have it ready with discussion questions or with activity, or I've used it to do a word search activity, right, with all of our terms, and then I put the word search on, and so then they're all circling, finding the words, and I made it a race, so I had several of these so that each of the teams had to do their own. That worked out pretty cool. So I don't know. I'm not big in puzzles necessarily, but sometimes I'll do them, making sure that the puzzles have my content in them. That's important. So yeah, so whiteboarding, you let your imagination run wild, but the trouble with the Zoom whiteboard is it's difficult to make it ahead of time, to have it kind of set up the way you want it, or have the questions in it already, or have some areas to deal with things. It's just, you open it up and it's white, and then you lose time with the setup. Okay. Idea flip, what's that one? Whoever put that one up there, I haven't heard of that one. Now I'm interested. Can you unmute and tell us what it is?
Yeah, Dan, this is Brady. So
Sure.
we've got a team within our company that is using that for collaboration.
Okay.
They've got free, and then of course they got the corporate account too,
Okay.
just like everybody does. But we've used it a few times on our team to do after action reviews, what worked.
Okay.
But so you can process map. You can there's voting features within it. So I haven't
Cool.
used it in the training environment. Not
Okay.
quite fluent in it enough, but there might be some application there. So
absolutely. Well, the key, right, Brady, is okay, if this team is using it, the more they use it, the better they get at it, the better they get at using Idea Flip, the more they want to keep using it, et cetera, right? So don't think about, you probably learned this. For me, I don't use a tool one and done. Use the tool and then use the tool, right? So people get used to using it, and then there isn't that barrier. Next poll question. Go ahead and put up there. Do you use any quiz game? We mentioned a few already. Kahoot, that's a pretty popular one. I saw that at the Professional Development Day a couple of years ago, and there was a bunch of teachers presenting, and I'm like, this is brilliant. It's a little too elementary school for me. Sometimes, you got to tone down the primary colors a little bit, and some of the stuff inside, and like, it just feels a little schooly. But I know some teachers just think it's the bomb, right? And there's a whole bunch of Kahoots that are already there. And I have a feeling, this is what I would be if I was a middle school teacher. I'd be like, you kids behave back there. And then they're not behaving. So then I'm like, okay, Dan and Adam, you guys are causing trouble. Would you just make a quiz in Kahoot to keep yourselves busy? And then we go in there and we make a goofy Kahoot, because we're causing trouble, So the online quiz feature inside of Mentimeter is great. It's got an automatic leaderboard too. So Mentimeter can be used for that as well.
You have a couple questions that have shown up in the chat about a good resource to find the latest and greatest tools, and then recommendations for showing video clips in Zoom. And unfortunately, we're also running out of time.
Yeah, I see that. So I'm going to tell you straight, run, don't walk to Mike Taylor's blog, mike-taylor.org. Sign up. You'll get a message every week, and he is the gold standard for curated resources in our space. Yep, that's where you go. Sharing video, yeah, optimize it. It's all in settings when you're doing sharing. Optimize it for viewing. Also, Mike Taylor's Twitter feed is there. Okay. So some tools I want to hit on a few before we have to go. Of course, you're going to teach people use the zoom.com support site. If you have to use Teams for your training and you want annotation tools and want some control, I've been using Zoomit as an add-on tool that allows you to do some pretty clever Zoom type features and try to do it inside of a Teams meeting. We already mentioned Jamboard. I use Chegg with 2 G's. It's a study aid site, so they can help you write your research paper. However, they also have a pretty nice interface for flashcards. So you can have students make their own flashcards and then use them to drill and practice, or you can create flashcard games. You can make the flashcards ahead of time and have them go use them. This tool, Flippity, I think it was mentioned for quizzing. It's great because it's Google Doc and it's set up for teachers, so it's real easy to make. So if you don't have much time and you want to set up some teams, there's a tool in there to put teams together, randomized. You want to do you got a bunch of terms and you want them to find it in a word search, or you want to make a crossword puzzle. You want to do all these things. Flippity is the bomb. We did Mentimeter, we mentioned. Oh, for the love of Pete, shorten your URLs, please. Use a shortener. That's the one. It's free, bit.ly. Mike Taylor, I mentioned. Go to smilesheets.com for survey questions. Let's take that up a notch too. So the participant survey at the end of your learning, do good ones. Please try to learn how to make those better. And again, you already heard me say, don't average your responses. And next one is like have better questions. So smilesheets.com is a way to do that. I've used Google Sheets for learner surveys. So there's that one. And just keep learning. Keep learning. And these are my hard-earned lessons. You can scan them. Long-earned lessons. Hard-earned. Have a backup plan. Oh, I think we've all learned that one. Don't worry. Oh, you can play music, although it's a little bit non-compliant. I don't know. Oh, here's another useful tool, Feedly. So if you're not sure who to follow, just set up a Feedly that will troll the internet on your key terms and bring you blogs and articles and resources to kind of grab things. Change your visibility sessions in Windows 10. Yeah, that's a real nice thing for accessibility and inclusion. Make your mouse bigger, get your right contrast. You can do some tests there and it's very helpful. Yeah. And then the last one I want to hit on, don't be shy. Call on people. Say, you know what, Jennifer, we're going to start with you, and then it's going to be Libby, and then Adam. So what did you learn in your breakout? We'll start with Jennifer. Now, Jennifer knows that it's coming. Or ask the question, have everybody think, and then call. You bet, Libby. Cold calling. If you're not sure how to do it, just do some Google searching on that term, and every teacher in the country will give you tips on how effective that is, because it gets your students to engage even in person. You don't have that awkward, all right, who has a thought? And then, people have to unmute and all that jazz. So, all right, so I had fun. I hope that you learned something. So my goal was to have some fun with you, network a bit. So we're going to give you a link to practice some feedback, and I don't have it. So I will go to Melissa.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and do our wrap up, and I'll drop the link in while you're talking.
Fantastic. Can you also drop the handout in there again as well?
Please? I will.
Thank you. And Adam and I are going to send out the handout after class, after this as well. So thank you, Dan, so much. This has been fun and been very informative, I think, for many of us. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this. And thank you to everybody for joining. Just a couple ATD reminders. Don't forget, we do have the leadership SIG that takes place on Fridays as well. So check your emails for that. There's been a couple people that have asked about LMSs and using things on the Facebook page or on social media. So be sure you're following ATD Central Iowa on Facebook and LinkedIn to help out fellow trainers. And then Professional Development Day, don't forget, registration is open for September 17th. We are doing in person at DMAC again this year, so it will be a very fun-filled day. And again, I want to thank Dan, give you some clapping here and some thumbs up. So thank you all for being here. And if anybody has any questions, I'll stay on a little bit after here. But otherwise, have a fabulous weekend, and thank you all for joining us.
And one more shameless plug for everybody. We've got August 6th is our next tech success session. We have Brian Smith from Casey's coming in to talk about using scenarios and assessments and feedback in e-learning courses. So that'll be a really fun one as well.
Thanks, Adam. I forgot to plug our own group. Good golly. All right, thank you.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. And if you have a chance, go ahead out. This link will stay available. And let's put this form link, Adam and Melissa, into that follow-up email too. So I want you to see the questions, because the questions come from the smilesheets.com source.
Great. Thank you.